I really hope so.
Yeah, so the next I would like to ask can you just elaborate me the role of a researcher in a team?
Researcher,
Yeah,
basically researcher. So an ideal researcher for me, as I told you at the starting of a moot court, all the participants are the researchers, right?
yeah,
But once you move ahead with when the deadline is very near to you and of the
yeah,
competition or maybe of the submissions, the part of the researcher is then he is kind of a person who will be assisting the speakers, because the speaker is pretty if the speaker is pretty much sure that he wants to highlight this particular point, he'll tell his researcher to research more about it or mark down or jot down certain important parts from the compendium or rather from the memorandum too, so that he can point it out, he can flag it over there in the court. He doesn't gets confused over there, flipping from the pages, going from one page to the other. He directly can go to the flag as the researcher has done his homework and give the copy to the
yes,
court
yes,
and the opposite party, right? So I think researcher, rather than I won't call him an assistant of the speakers, he isn't equal to them, but is assisting them to make their speaking easy,
yes,
right?
yes.
If you're
I,
understanding.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I'm getting it.
a lot of times what happens is the judges, they are very much keen to ask the researchers too, right? Just in order to know the fact that the people have researched or not. So the researcher has to be very much up to the date with all the facts and the points of the case too, and the judgments. It might come down to such a part where your speaker might not be able to speak and the researcher might have to show up and come up. So I think he's an
Yeah,
equal. So yeah. And researcher is also the one who also organizes a lot of stuff, organizes
yes,
it,
yes.
jots it down into a brief statements, because you really cannot carry the whole book. If there are
Right,
only
right.
what, like 3 4 pages out of the whole book, now the researcher is organizing it and then in the drafting too.
Yeah, it's really great one. Researcher has a very important role, I guess.
He does.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question I'll be putting you is how a moot court team should prepare themselves and go ahead with the competition.
Oh, that's a very interesting question because
Yeah.
all my life I think I've never really had an answer to that. But yeah, I think I'll be able to be in a position to give you some pointers. So the first
Sure.
thing is identify a moot, of course, right?
Okay.
Once you've done that, once you have a team, the first and the foremost thing is, I think you should have that tuning inside your team, right? The communication inside your team. It should not
Yes,
happen that
yes.
only two people are working, third person is not working. All three of them, they should be at the similar mindset that we have to work for this thing, right?
Yeah.
Once you have identified the mood, you have identified the team, the first thing that you do is you read the rules of that mood court. What happens is, it has happened to me too a lot of times. I think I had missed a couple of rules, I think, of a particular mood court, and it was the last day of submission. And that's when I read it, the rules, because what happens is we a lot of times we tend to skip the rule page and go on
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
main crux, the main problem.
Yes.
So that happened to me, and I had to alter all my work. So you should be very much precise with the rules, because it might happen sometimes that the opposite party in the court, they're not following the rules. So you can also bring it out towards the judges, in front of the judges, that they're not following the rules and they might also get disqualified to your
Okay.
benefit. So done with the rules too. Third thing is, you read the mood problem. You don't read the mood problem once, twice, thrice, but as many times as you can. I'd say even 100 is less, because every morning that you wake up, you'll be waking up with a different mindset. Your
Yeah. Yeah.
interpretation of a line will be different every time. So I'd say read the mood problem even one day prior to the competition too. And I'm very sure,
Okay.
मतलब आप जितनी बार भी उसे पढ़ोगे, every time you'll be getting some more points, some new points about that mood,
New point.
that
Yeah.
problem that you didn't have the last time, and the new interpretations too. So once you're done with it, jot the material facts, segregate the facts from the material facts. As I told you, not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
everything is necessarily needed over there in the court. So once you jotted down the material facts, the important dates, the list of dates, that will help your own ease, and that would also help the court too, right? A chronological list. Then you have to apply your crude mind. What
Yeah.
laws are
Yeah. Yeah.
attracted? What laws are attracted? Now apply your crude mind. What laws are attracted? For example, if it's a criminal problem, the criminal law, you yourself would start researching. Then comes to the part that you research. Don't ever start drafting or start typing your memorandum without your perfect research. initial stage, developing acid stage. So you
Yes, sir.
research and research. Research from the primary sources, the secondary sources, research it from the books, the online sources. We are lucky enough that we have the online sources nowadays.
Yeah.
With the compile it, and then things would themselves be becoming clear to you. And then what you do is you structurize your argument. Once you've structurized your argument
Yeah.
roughly in a rough draft, you divide it in into different pointers, right? For example, the pointer number one would be if it is a murder case, like the defense of the alibi, if you're taking a defense, right? The
Yeah.
ingredients of 302, if it's a 302 case, right? So divide it. And then once you're dividing it and you're typing it down, you're writing about the law, the first thing. You write about the cases that are decided by the Supreme Court. But always make sure your last concluding para would be where you relate all your research to the facts and the circumstances of the case. You give the
Yeah.
conclusion in every sub point two, in a subhead two, in a head and a subhead two. Once you're doing that, your arguments would automatically, you'll feel that they are being structurized in a better way, and you are getting something, you're reaching somewhere, you're reaching a conclusion. Because as I told you, a mood problem is a very neutral topic. It's not premeditated, it
Yeah.
is very much balanced, it is not decided yet. So it's upon you how you use your structure and your conclusions in order to mold away the court's opinion in your favor. So once you've done that, you're done with your memorandum, your arguments part. Once you're done structurizing it, proofread it once, twice, and as many times as you can. They should see, for a perfect memo to be there. I mean, I've had in the past experiences, I've been lucky to be a part of such teams where we have concentrated a lot on our memos. For a perfect memo,
Yes,
there
sir.
should not be an error of even of a little of an inch of a space too. It should be
Okay.
perfectly structured, perfectly
Yeah.
spaced, perfectly fonted, and border if there is possibly. So it should be neat work, right? What we used to do back in the school, our homework
Yes.
in a very neat manner in order to get the stars, right? So yeah, it has to be very neat work. So
Yeah.
once you're done with that, you've submitted it. But
Yeah.
while you're typing it down, make sure that everybody, the whole team, it sits down, and when it is being typed down, they also discuss it. Because what happens is when you're discussing it, your analytical mind, it also comes to life. You're also
Yes,
discussing a
sir.
lot of new points too, right? And you're also discussing the facts and the pointers that the other team would be also thinking about.
Yes. Yes.
That should be the
Yeah.
approach to you have, because you're a lawyer, right? At the end of the day, so you cannot
Exactly.
see the problem from the very facet that it is shown to you. Once you're also jotting down the material facts from it, you also
Yeah.
have to see all the other possibilities. You might
Yes.
not know
Yes, sir.
what might have happened or what might happen over there in the court or what the other team is thinking. So that should also be noted down, I'd say, in a very rough draft.
Yes, sir.
So once you're done typing it, submitting your memo, next thing is practice your
Sir, I would
points.
like to
But what?
interrupt here.
Uh,
I'm really very sorry. Actually, we're running short of time.
no, no.
We are 7 minutes left. I'll ask you one more question, which will be last one. So you can be
Yeah,
precise with this now.
yeah, no problem.
This will be finished here. Is that previous question, or you would
Yeah, yeah.
like to add on something?
No, I was just saying, okay, what should happen is that the team, it should practice the oral arguments, but
Yeah.
not necessarily that the oral arguments would be, taken up by perceived by the court in the very crude sense as you are practicing it. So
Yeah.
the other members must also put on questions to the person who's speaking, right? And
Okay.
then hence, this is how prepare for a
Yeah.
moot.
So your last question would be here. The role of moot court advocacy. I would like to ask you here.
Uh,
What
yeah,
do you
right now
think?
I'm in position that I can compare.
Yeah, exactly. Then only I
I
want to ask you.
think, yeah. See, my case, what happens is I've started my practice in the appellate level first, and I'm going to the low level too. So I think
Okay.
it's a lot of ease that a person finds because you've already seen kind of what goes on in a court, right?
Yeah.
Internships are also good. You can compare these experiences to the internship experiences
Internships.
too. So when you know what goes on into the court, it also you know the actual wordings too. So there is an ease while you argue before the judge too. And what happens is in a
Okay.
lot of places, I think in 90% of the courts, the bench is also very much supportive. And if you
Yeah.
tend
Yeah.
to argue well, or you're somewhere around the word well, the bench would be very much supportive to you. So in advocacy too, it is a confidence booster, the first thing I'd say. people who do not have a lot of confidence, it boosts it. See, the language
Yes,
and the
yes, yes.
lingo, there's a premediated conception that you need to be good at English if you need to be a good mooter or a good lawyer. I think that
Okay.
is a very wrong conception that the people have developed. The
Yep.
language does not stop you from, making the other person believe into your words. Because I've
Yeah.
seen personally, I'll tell you about from my mooting experiences too. I cannot really comment about the practice experience. I've seen people
Yes.
who were very much precise in their language, be it Hindi or English, but at the end of the day, the decisions they took in their favor, and we were defeated. I think my team was defeated, right? So again, another thing that it develops into you is spontaneity. Bilkul.
Okay. Okay.
Spontaneity
Nice.
is basically, yes, a lot of questions might be put onto you on a spur of a moment, and you need to tackle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The judges need an answer because they do not have the whole day, right? They're not there to listen to you the whole day. So
Exactly.
if you're spontaneous enough, if you mooted, you already have an experience to what to give to them, right? What an answer
Yes.
would
Yes.
be, how to get out of that situation, I'd say rather. See,
And your nervousness
I
will
have to say,
also be gone, I guess.
yes, exactly, yes. And it also helps in defeating your reluctance and shyness too, and your
Yeah.
nervousness,
Yeah.
as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because what happens is you really feel like the other person is a judge. He might just get offended. I don't know what to speak. But once you
Yes.
start out to speak, once you start out to moot, and it's really very much easier for you in the open court too, right? And I think these are the things you also become very much prone to the criticism, the words of the judges or the bench. They do not affect you because there's not a personal level interaction going on over there. It's about a case at the end of the day.
And they also
So if you
roast you
keep
like
these things
anything.
in your mind, yes, and you are updated with your law, you know the
Yeah.
procedure of
Yeah.
the court, somewhat the procedure, because nobody can know the procedure. Even the greats like late Ramjet Malani ji, he also used to read the law, the books at the very last days of his practice, I'd
Yeah.
say. So I think it's a learning process, but you are prepared. You are already prepared. It's like if you go for like the engineering courses, you've gone for the crash course already, I'd say. So
Yes.
mooting is
Yes.
that
Yes.
for me.
Yes. Wow. So I would like to end here. We're running very short of time. We have just 3 minutes left. So
Let's take our
I
time
would
and
just ask
there are
some
two,
last suggestions,
yes,
some
yes,
last
yes.
suggestions and
And
measures.
yeah, and compilation of the moot court is just not limited to the oral presentation and the written presentation, but what actually matters is your court etiquettes too, your court ethics,
Yeah,
the way you
exactly,
sit. If the
exactly.
one person of the team is standing and giving his oral presentation, the judges, they have their eyes on the whole team. Sometimes what happens is the other people who are sitting in a moot court, they are very much laid back. They're not interested what's going on in the moot court, but it
Yeah,
also
yeah,
matters.
it does
Now that
happen.
happens the moot court.
Yeah, we
Actually,
have
yes,
seen
it
it.
also
Yeah,
matters. So the etiquettes being general, yes, and your, I think, composure, confidence, a lot of things. So as I
yeah,
told everyone with the note that I include is, there is no mediated concept of mooting. It's just that if you're prone to criticism and you have the ability to speak, go for it. Everyone is a mooter, I'd say. And at that note, I think I'd also share my email ID for all the students who are very much interested and they have queries. It's athem.sarthak.3
yes. Thank you
That's
so
all.
much, sir. Thank you so
Just
much, sir.
concluding it, thank you so much. Thank you to the Shoolini University. Thank you to Nandan sir. And thank you to our wonderful moderator, Palak. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me
you
here.
so much, sir. I really had a great time and I've learned so many things from you. It was a very informative session. I would either say I didn't have so much information about mooting, which I got to know right now. And I hope every student will learn something from this, surely.
I really hope.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.